Welcome to Across the Park podcast, the only place you can hear banter and debate from both sides of Stanley Park, whether it be blue or red. Sponsored by Their Clothing, Camper Kings UK, and affiliation with Betmate.
Hello everyone, welcome to Across the Park podcast, episode 26 of the 2021-2022 season. Someone's feeding back there, is that you, Phil? Usually is. Put your mic on mute, mate. Apologies to all our loyal listeners and followers from last week. For the first time in the history of Across the Park podcast, we were not able to get our weekly episode out. It hurt me so much that. So yeah, there was nothing that could be done. Literally everything conspired against us. We had 4 of the lads away on a stag do. We had a couple of the lads that we'd asked to come on that had agreed to do it, and then there was issues with it, or there was family problems one of the lads had. So literally we couldn't do anything about it. So apologies for all of you who didn't get the episode last week. Hopefully we can make up for it this week. So, as usual, this is the first of our 2 episodes this week. In our second episode of the week, we'll be doing our usual quiz, trivia, reviewing our fantasy football game via Betmate. So, massive thanks to them. Massive thanks to our other sponsors, Camper Kings UK, our long-standing sponsor. As we always say, if you look for a UK vacation, get across to their website, their socials, some cracking deals on there for you. And if you quote Across the Park podcast when you book, you get a free bottle of champagne and free insurance. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to crack on with this week's episode. Unfortunately, Pricey, we're going to have to review yet another Everton away defeat. I went to Newcastle a couple of weeks ago, and despite the win last week, I still had that firmly in the back of my mind going into the Southampton game. Obviously, you're hopeful that the players can bounce that form into the next game, but it looked very similar, if not worse, than the Newcastle game. What are your thoughts on the results, the performance, and everything in between?
The result goes without saying, doesn't it? We got beaten. It was difficult, especially this stage of the season, being where we are. I think every point dropped is a worry. I just thought we were really bad, to be honest. I thought we were really poor. I think Lampard, after the game, summed it up. He was sort of getting at the fact that it wasn't good enough. He mentioned that a few times. Look, that's not good enough. I'm going to let the players know that's not good enough. And that's just how I felt. It just wasn't good enough. In possession, I thought we were sloppy. Hardly put 2 passes together. And then overran, especially in the second half. I understood why he brought Allen off, being on a yellow card and stuff, but though we completely overran in midfield, every time we lost possession, they just got at us quick in numbers, and we couldn't really cope with it. So yeah, I mean, it's overall, since the new manager's come in, you just got to look at, are we progressing, are we going forward, are we moving forward? And at the moment, it's 1 step forward, 1 step back. You can't actually say if we are or not. As good as the home form's been the last 2 games, the away form's been abysmal. So it was just back to being same old Everton, unfortunately for me. And just hopefully, unless we can change that away form, hopefully our home form can see us through and get us safe, if you like. That's all you got to be hopeful for. But yeah, I was disappointed. I thought overall we were as bad as the Newcastle, as you say, probably worse than the Newcastle game, and that was pretty bad. As bad as we've been, that's all I can say. I think it's as bad as we've been all season, away from home.
I agree. I think that's 2 away games now where it's been as bad as we've been. And again, as much as I agree with you that there have been obviously 2 positives in the 2 home performances, 1 in the league, 1 in the cup. The two away performances have been dreadful. There's no 2 ways about it. We've had no idea. It was like possession for possession's sake. In the first half, we're keeping the ball going side to side at times, but then the ball's getting lumped forwards. I know that Lampard mentioned that a few times in his interviews, that he wasn't happy with how direct we were going and how often we were going direct, and we weren't trying to retain the ball. For me, they looked like, and Newcastle's done exactly the same. They look like they just had more bodies in midfield. And I don't necessarily, I'm not saying I'm backing the players here, because I agree that some of the players were not brave enough on the ball or not brave enough in wanting the ball. And that's why we were having to go from back to front so often. But from my perspective, in my opinion, I think that Southampton recognised straight away that they put another body in the midfield against us, and you can completely nullify us, and you know, and just, you know, you look at the Leeds game, we played through the lines so often, got into those players in the final, the middle thirds, and that's where we're getting our opportunities. We weren't doing that, or weren't able to do that against Southampton, and that was it. Game over. We just had no other plan. Our fullbacks are obviously not the fullbacks that we had 3, 4, 5 years ago that are able to get down the outside, cause a threat from deep, and therefore, and you've obviously got Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's clearly not fit. Therefore, when you're playing long balls up to him, he doesn't seem strong enough to compete. He doesn't seem to almost have the pace to kind of threaten defenders yet. You know what I mean?
He looks to me like the injury's still in the back of his head, and he's scared to go full pelt, or he's scared to, you know, sprint really to release himself, because he, just in case he falls back into it. I think the midfield point is the biggest point, as I say, especially in the second half. I think Lampard mentioned before the game that maybe Van der Beek can sit deep. I don't think he can. I think that just proved that he needs somebody alongside him, a workhorse, if you like, next to him, and just allow him to play. Because when he's your holding midfielder, and especially with Gomez in there, who's definitely not that type of player. Southampton, as you say, they had extra man in, but they just seemed to flood our midfield, and our defenders didn't know where to go, didn't know who to pick up, and it just caused us real problems. And that's Southampton, and no disrespect to them, but if they're causing us so many issues, as easy as that, not tactically brilliant, just basically just flood the midfield, then, you know, it is a little bit worrying. But the home form has been decent, partially because of, and I'm not saying it's because of this, but partially because of the atmosphere, and it's been the type of games where we've got in the opposition's face, and the crowd have got on board, and we've been able to really push them and get at them. Whereas away, you can't do that as much, and you are relying more on skill, if you like, and you know, confidence on the ball and playing. I think that's where we're struggling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not that you can be critical yet of the manager, and I know we're not going to go down that route. He's got to discover the play. He's got to work out which players are good enough long term, and which players have got that steel, haven't he? That mental steel. There's not many players for me, thinking off the top of my head, that have got that in abundance. Just for me, the second time, and I thought this against Newcastle, it was just crying out for another body in midfield, as opposed to swapping man for man. And I know, like, you know, every system shouldn't be that static, and players should be able to, you know, react to what's going on around them, and maybe drop in if they need to, or push up if they need to. But I understand why he's made that change, taking Allen off. And look, Allen had a poor performance. He was poor in the first half, but swapping man for man, particularly for Gomez, was never going to change anything, in my view. I think we got outrun, we outplayed in the first half. Swapping one midfielder for another was not going to be the solution. And the quicker he realises that, you know, that, particularly with our midfielders, you know, the better chance he's got of picking up some points away from home.
Yeah, it's the worst thing about bringing in a new manager, is he gives everyone a chance, and you've got to, especially if you've won. You sort of kept the same team, kept morale going, and so you've got to give everyone a chance. But for fans, it's frustrating, because the same old players are getting the same chances, and it's like, yeah, they might have a good game, and keeping the same team's fair enough, but when was the last time you've seen we have two good games on a run, or, you know, John Joe Kenny performed to that standard twice? It's never happened. So I get why he picked the same team, but realistically, you've got to adapt to the team you're playing against, and the type of performance that you want. He wants the, you know, gung-ho performance against Leeds. That was never going to happen against Southampton. So why he's picked the same team? I don't get. But I'm not criticising him at all. He said after the game as well, you know, he's learning about his players. He's going to have to, in essence, give them a few home truths now, and he's going to have to let them know that that's not good enough. And that's perfect. That's exactly what you want him to say. He's given them a chance. That's twice now where they've been below par away from home. Now he's going to have to tell them, look, that is not good enough. The standards are higher than that. It's just whether you get that reaction from them now. But playing these players who've let us down, he has to give them a chance. I just hope that he does see through them in the same way we do. And when it gets to the summer, he realises that you've had your chance, you've had your few games, you didn't impress. So we need to move it out and get the new players in.
Exactly. I think the only player, if not maybe one more, that comes out with credit from the game is Jordan Pickford. You know, one player who stood up and was countered, made some brilliant stops in the game. He's been fairly consistent anyway. To be fair, for quite some time now. He's had the odd mistake and whatever, which I think goalkeepers do anyway. But I thought he was outstanding on Saturday, and probably the only reason why we didn't ship 5.
Yeah, he's been that way probably since he got dropped or rested when Ancelotti was in. I think that sort of, he's been level-headed. I think against Newcastle the other week, he was sort of, the fans were getting to him a little bit. And he still plays up to the crowd. He still plays up to the crowd a little bit for me. I'd like him to be a bit calmer in that. But yeah, I can't fault him. Keepers are going to make mistakes. That's the nature of the job. I mean, Liverpool got a decent keeper, and he's made quite a few, hasn't he? So it's the way it works. But overall, yeah, I think I couldn't even say who else I thought stood out as playing decent. I don't think anyone did, really.
No, I think Van der Beek done okay in patches, didn't he? Where, you know, he is one of the players who will demand the ball or wants the ball. And I think, to a certain extent, Lampard was deflecting the blame from the midfielders by saying that the defenders far too often were just missing the midfield out. I heard him say that a few times. They were missing the midfield out. Yeah. They were missing the midfield out. So I think that was probably alluding to the fact that he feels that his midfielders were at times available, but the defenders were choosing the easier option of just going long.
And that's a lack of confidence in it. That's when you go a goal down, the defenders are losing. You know, they haven't got no confidence anyways. We might have a go at them individually, but as a unit, they've got no confidence because the way the season's gone. So if they are a goal down, it's a bit of a panic, isn't it? So they're scared to make that mistake and make those passes into midfield, which is a more difficult pass.
We're going to come on to obviously the City game at the weekend, which is a big one. Obviously, it's not one that we're particularly expecting points from, and obviously we'll talk about the potential changes in that one. But before we do, obviously this next fixture that a lot of fans will be thinking is a difficult one for us to take points from. The question that most Blues are asking each other now, and Reds are trying to go with us by asking us as well. Are you worried now?
Generally for the season or for Saturday? What do you mean?
No, yeah, for the season in terms
I've been worried for weeks. I've said it on here weeks ago. I've been worried because I mean, I mentioned it when Newcastle. I think it was even before Newcastle had gone on their run. They were always bound to. They were always bound to go on a little run. All it takes is a couple of those teams, and there's always one team that drops down. Or generally, there's one team that drops down. I said it weeks ago. I was worried at Everton. I still am worried at Everton. But we got to I mean, you win your home games. We should be safe enough, shouldn't we? But it's obviously, you got City at home. We got a couple of more difficult home games as well to win. So it's not as easy as saying that. But yeah, I'm worried. I know did you say you were worried last week or the week before? Did you?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you're right in saying we've got a good few home games, but there's only really 3 of them that I think are not nails on, because no wins nails on the Premier League, particularly when you're playing as inconsistently as we are. But I think we've got Man City, as you've said, we've got Man United, we've got Arsenal, we've got Wolves. They're all tough games. Then I think there's Palace and a couple of others where you're thinking, we should take points. I looked at it and I thought 9 points, it fairly nailed on if we play the way we have in our last couple of home games. Apart from that, you're scraping it, really. Do you know what I mean? So. Yeah.
And that game in hand, I hate that game in hand as well, because we've got a game in hand on a couple of teams and that, and it's like, I hate that, because in your head you do think, we've got 3 points there and that'll get us there, and you'd rather have the points than the game in hand, 100%. So yeah, absolutely. I think Burnley have got 2. I mean, it's horrible to say this, but I think Burnley have got 2 games in hand on us, and that's like, looking over our shoulder. You've got it, mate. No. As it is, you've got it.
Do you think this next? I think the next 5 games we were talking about the other day on the Stag Do. I think you've got City, Tottenham. Is it Newcastle, Watford, Leeds? Not in that order.
We've had Leeds, haven't we? Wolves is one of them. I think.
Is it Wolves? Yeah. I think that run now, especially with it being City and Tottenham next, they're 2 potential defeats, like likely defeats. And then the 3 after that, I don't know what order. Newcastle, Watford, Wolves.
Yeah, so it's
whatever order it may be.
It's City at home. Then we've got Tottenham away, Wolves at home, Newcastle at home, and then Watford away. I mean, those 3 fixtures there stick out to me. I know Wolves have obviously had a really good season. They're not going to be easy to beat. But those 3 games there are the games where you're looking.
You need to look at picking up points. If you don't win them games, that's when you're in real danger, I think. I think if you can come out of them with maybe winning 2, getting a draw in 1, you're probably looking at safety there.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for me, if you don't, if you can beat Wolves, it puts you in a position where, and as Maz is to say, I said this when we went away to Newcastle, you just don't want to get beat by Newcastle. That's a mad thing and a really negative thing to say. But when we played Newcastle away, obviously, everyone was riding the wave to a certain extent. I was saying, look, we just need to not get beat here tonight, because if we do get beat, you're feeding them as much as you.
Yeah.
much as we're losing out as well. So
yeah, a draw was worse for them than it was for you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, we'll move on to the Reds. We'll touch, later on in the episode on our upcoming fixture, what changes we think we'll make. But yeah, make no mistake about it, Blues, me and Pricey are worried. Interesting to hear what your thoughts are on social media. Please do let us know. So over to the Red side. Slight scare in the first half, but in the end, you got the job done. Thoughts?
Yeah, I'll start. I was at the game and I thought, well, first of all, start with the team selection. We made a lot of changes for that game. We had Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain in the midfield. We had Joe Gomez in the right back position. We had Tsimikas playing, so Trent and Robertson were rested. So yeah, going into it, I was thinking, not that we'd ever get beat or could get beat by Norwich, because they've got no threat going forward, really. But I was thinking, we could make like a pig's foot of this game. It could be more difficult than it needs to be, and I was a bit concerned. And the first half kind of played out like that.
I've heard that one before. The pig's foot.
Yeah, I was thinking that. That's definitely not a saying. That.
Get on Google.
Pig's ear.
Pig's ear.
Am I getting two sayings mixed up?
Sorry, go on.
But yeah, it was a tough first half, wasn't it, Gary? Quite frustrating. I thought there was no real. Didn't look like there was a game plan. I'm sure there was, but we didn't create opportunities. It wasn't like no pattern of play that was clear, and it was probably down to the quality or lack of from Chamberlain and Keita in the first half. For me, I think that's what went wrong.
Yeah, I think going into it, I know what you mean about the lineup was quite a lot of changes. It was a bit odd compared to what we're used to seeing, but I can't say I was worried going into the game at all. As you said, Norwich don't very, very rarely cause us any problems. I just thought it should realistically, even with that team out, be a run of the mill standard performance. Get the 3 points, get out. They troubled us a little bit in the first half, and yet, Oxlade-Chamberlain, as much as I will the lad to do well, I don't know what it is about him. I proper like him. I proper want him to do well. He's just not good enough. He can't get enough games due to injury and things like that to be able to get a run together.
Yeah.
When he does perform well, so I think you're likely to see him going to somewhere. He's just not performing enough consistently enough, and as I said, he's just not good enough. Keita, without doing much wrong, he was ineffective in the game. He didn't really do anything negative, but in that position, with Henderson playing the sort of Fabinho role, Keita's got to create something. He's got to go forward and put us on the front foot and try and create chances for the forwards, and just don't get any of that from him. It's so frustrating because you see the difference when Thiago comes on.
Yeah,
you see the difference in it. It's just,
yeah,
100%. But I think for me that one of the biggest problems was Trent not playing. I said it in the group to all the lads. I said that if Trent's playing here, we're 2-0 up in the first half.
It's always the way, isn't it? Whenever Trent does start, we look at the team.
Yeah, it's mad how much we rely on that on a right back, because obviously he's not a stereotypical right back where he's just playing defensively. He is more of a winger, but he is our right back. And I think the amount of times Joe Gomez got in positions where Trent had bombed on and he'd have got in and behind the left back and he'd have been able to get a ball in or created something, whereas Gomez didn't. And then even when he did get into the positions that maybe Trent would have, the quality of the final ball, you could tell.
Trent, is he?
But you could tell he hasn't played for so long. You could see he was out of. He wasn't he didn't have match practice. His crossing was off. His range of crossing like that. Just simple things where you can just put it into an area. Right, it's not going to be pinpoint the way Trent does because who can, but you can put it into areas where it's going to be dangerous. As balls were going out for a goal kick, they were going miles too far over where Tsimikas was getting on the end of it, stopping it going for a throw-in. Things like that you don't really get from Trent. And although, as you say, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Keita didn't give us anything, I thought that was a big issue for us as well. And we've said it for years and years that we haven't got decent enough cover for Trent. When Robertson's not playing, Tsimikas can provide decent cover. He can. He's not Robbo, but he's decent enough. He's good enough. I just think that's got to be something we address. We've addressed the forward line now. We've got strength in depth massively now on the forward line. I think come the summer, we should try and get a Simicast for the right back position and go for the midfield backups as well now.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But just looking at the game sort of in hindsight now, Gary, it's job done, wasn't it? Because in the end, it was comfortable. And we've managed to get through that game with a lot of big games coming up, cup final and all that. And we've rested Fabinho, Trent, Robbo. Firmino was injured, didn't he? But we've got through that game comfortably. And just focusing on the positives. As you say, when Thiago come on, his performance was really good, switching play quickly, forcing it forward. It looked like Henderson had a new lease of life. He played 2 great through balls for 2 of the goals. And then Diaz as well. He come to life more so. His runs were being found. He looked really quick. He didn't give up all night. And the finish was absolutely spot on for his goal.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, what I like about it now is how long have we been crying out for having a bench that can come on and change a game? It's been very few and far between over these. Although our starting 11 has been like one of the best in the league for a few years now. When we've been relying on the likes of Origi coming off the bench and Minamino coming off the bench and young lads like Curtis Jones coming off the bench to try and change games, now you've seen how crucial it is to have quality.
Do you know we did bring on Origi and Minamino?
Yeah, no, I know that, but we were relying on them.
Wasn't.
We were relying on them though. I'm talking about the Inter Milan game as well. The Inter Milan game previously, we've had this game now where the subs have come on, changed the game. And that's what we've been lacking, I think, in the past. And now it's coming to show just how important that can be. City have had it for years. They've had 2 quality players in every position for years. And it looks like we're finally starting to compete on that sort of level with them.
It's great to be able to make substitutions that affect the game like that. But Terry was a bit frustrated. I was with him after the game. That we don't do that from the start. But it's just one of them, isn't it? We've got to use the squad because we're backlogged. I
know some people, like, a lot of the time I'm a bit like that, especially in cup competitions where it's like get the game won and then rest and then get players off. But there's no guarantee that you get the game won, is there? It's one of them. What's more important, keeping the legs fresh and still winning the game, or playing them for 70 minutes and then getting them off? I think especially you've got to look at the opposition. No disrespect to Norwich, but we should really be able to play a B team there and get through that game. With the quality we've got in depth now. I think if you wouldn't have seen that team had we been playing at Tottenham or even like a West Ham or a Wolves, you probably wouldn't have seen that team. Trent would have played. You'd have had more of the first 11 playing. I think it is. It has been a bit horses for courses. He's played I'd begrudge saying a weaker side because I don't really like putting a label like that on any of our players, but it is a weaker side. Joe Gomez isn't Trent. Keita and Ox aren't Fabinho and Thiago. So it is a weaker side, but he's played that because of the opposition.
We did have a question, or it was more a point that one of our followers was making about Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain. Is that right, Phil? Just a reference, obviously, because you've kind of covered it.
Yeah, I've got it here somewhere. Threw that on my toes. Okay, yeah, it's from Mike Holt, and he just wants to know what were our thoughts on the first half performance from Ox and Keita, but I think we've answered the question there. Poor.
Yeah, I'd say, like I said about Keita, I don't think he was so much poor. Just think he was ineffective. He didn't do anything like wrong. He weren't giving the ball away loads. He weren't like mistiming challenges. He wasn't giving free kicks away. He just didn't really give us anything going forward, which is his job.
That's what you always say about Keita, isn't it? That's like
in midfield. Waste of space. Might as well not be
there. Sometimes Price he is woeful. He his passes are off. He holds onto the ball too long and loses it. Things like that. But
sounds like we're going to sign him in the summer, Gary.
I just didn't see that side of Keita. I thought he kept possession well and things like that. But the role that he had in the game, he was ineffective. That's my point on him. Oxlade-Chamberlain was just poor. He was doing all that. He was losing the ball. He was making blind runs. His passing was off. He couldn't get it past anyone. And just thought he looks like a player who's been left behind now by this team.
I was going to say, out of those 2 descriptions, and considering where Oxlade-Chamberlain was playing, I'd rather a player be doing that. Obviously, things aren't coming off for him. He's trying to do stuff than just be a passenger. Like, it seems Keita was.
I agree. I mean, and that's why you maybe feel yourself more adhered to Chamberlain, isn't it? Because he's always trying to have a go and he's willing and he's working. Whereas Keita seems passive. It's like it's horrible to see. I think.
You finished at Liverpool when you lose your little pet name.
No, you skipped me for that. That's why I brought it back in. We can't move on though without talking about Alisson's assist. He's now he's done it before, hasn't he, against United? He's got a goal for us in the past, and he's done it again now. So when we haven't got our fullbacks, it's nice that the keeper can step up in it and provide.
Yeah, for me, it's the quick thinking and the want to get it out and get it up there. It's obviously worked on the amount of times that when Alisson gets it, you see Mane and Salah on the toes because they know if we can get in behind the defender, this is coming to us because he's just got that range of passing in him. Yeah, it was brilliant to see. I did think, to be honest, I thought he took too many touches, Salah. Thought that the chance had gone. But who am I to doubt Mo Salah? The man's just a genius, isn't he?
Yeah, he sent the whole team, didn't he?
Sent me. I think I was looking the other way.
Yeah. Nice.
Diaz as well, getting his first goal at Anfield. As you said at the start of your little monologue earlier on, he was didn't half take it well. Henderson's pass, I think it got described by someone on Twitter, an ex-Liverpool player, I can't remember who, as Gerrard-esque. It was that good of a ball. And then Diaz, what I like about Diaz, from his first game, he just seems so lively. He seems like he's slotted right into the team. He wants to, when he gets the ball, it's not just giving it back to the player he's got it off or giving a simple 5-yard pass. He's always trying to turn and go forward. He's always trying to find a pass in behind, or he's trying the 1-2 to get himself in behind. Like that run for his goal. Yeah, he's rapid, especially over a short distance, which is sometimes crucial.
What I liked about it is that he struggled against the right back, I think, if we're honest. It didn't have much joy out of him. But when a small, slight European player comes over and kind of loses out on the physicality in a battle with someone, you can see them just become shrinking violets and just like, I don't like this, get me back to Portugal type of thing. But he kept going. And then we had a bit of a formation change. We ended up 4-4-2 and he kept going, got his goal. So it was the attitude that impressed me the most on the day.
Yeah, I agree. I just like his, as you say, his attitude in his approach to games. Just love how he wants to be on the ball. He wants to be making them runs in behind. And I think, as I said before, he slots right into this Liverpool side. I don't think, whereas normally you see, a few players take the time to adjust, or certainly in our team, we always reference it, but you had it with Robertson when he came in. He didn't see him for six months or so. I don't think we're going to have any issue with that with Diaz.
Right, I'm going to move you on, lads, because the only thing that's worse than talking about the Liverpool victory is talking about a signing that we should have made in the summer. So we've got a couple of games. Do you want to cover the social media first, Phil, before we preview the upcoming games? You can't stop caught you short this time because this was like in the schedule.
So this is Jay and Kevin. They work for Trade Flooring Aintree. A little plug there for them. But they seem to listen to us on the lunch hour or something. So they always
a tenner. Jay, tell your boss it was a tenner.
Yeah, and if you want to think about becoming an official sponsor of the podcast, then drop us a message.
Little logo in the bottom corner there. Cookie in there.
Right. So first one, I'll go for the blue question first. So this one's from Kev, and he said, "What do you make of Calvert-Lewin? Loads have said the same players as a group of failed. Coleman, Silva, Allardyce, Carlo, Benitez. He's part of that group. He never sees them score when the going gets tough. Only scores when Everton are in form. Would you sell for the right amount?"
I'll go first because I wouldn't sell him. I think for a player like Calvert-Lewin, you've got to play to his strengths. Ancelotti done it perfectly, and that's when he scored all those goals. I mean, he's coming back from injury as well. Let's just get that out the way. He's hardly played this season, so he looks, as we were saying before, he looks half a yard off it, and he looks like he's holding back a bit. But I understand the question of would you sell him for the right money. It depends what that right money is, and I think we debate that around the Evertonians, debate it in our WhatsApp group all the time about what would you sell Calvert-Lewin for if the offer came in. For me, if you sell him for 80 million, are you going to replace those goals for 80 million being that with Everton? We're not going to be able to sign a top striker as much as we'd like to And what's 80 million going to buy you? Is it going to buy you that them goals that we could get off Calvert-Lewin? So for me, I wouldn't sell him. I just try and play to his strengths as much as possible. He's a box finisher, isn't he? He's not somebody who's going to take a man on and beat the keeper from outside the area. He's someone who's going to get in the box, and if you can supply him properly, he will score you. And he's proved that he will score goals if you play that way. As I said, Ancelotti done it. So for me, I really like. Sorry, guys, were you going to say something? Then?
Is he good enough of a player to play for him though? Is he that good?
What do you mean?
Well, you're saying you've got to play to his strengths. So is that sort of building your team around Calvert-Lewin?
Yeah.
Is he good enough to do that?
Yeah, he's a goal scorer, isn't he? So if everyone plays, if you build your team around your goal scorer and create for him to score goals, then he'll do it. He's not a Harry Kane where he can drop deep and create stuff, and like we seen on Saturday night, like he done for the goal, the Tottenham first goal. He's not someone like that. He's someone who you've got to play to his strength. So if you want him in the team, you've got to play that way, because there's no point in having him otherwise. He's just going to be a passenger. But if you do play to his strength, you can guarantee your goals.
Kev says that he only plays well when Everton are playing well, but from the outside, I see it the opposite way around, where sort of Everton play well when Calvert-Lewin's playing well.
Isn't that the case, though? All I'd say to Kevin, Pricey said it a few times, really, is when you've got a striker like Calvert-Lewin, who obviously feeds off good service, he will get you goals when you get him service. You've shown that under Ancelotti. You've got to play well to get him in the game, haven't you? And when you say play well, it's just getting good ball, getting the ball into good areas, and you've got to have a style of play which again, as Price, just to repeat what Price says, suits him. So I do agree with Kev. He does very rarely score when we're not playing well, and that's because our style of play when we're not playing well is to lump it up, and even though he'll win balls in the air, he's not necessarily going to win his own ball and run onto it and score. So I think Kev's right, and I don't disagree with what he's saying, but I think it's a reflection of the fact that when we are playing well and we get the ball into Calvert-Lewin, we will win games, and we'll win more games than we lose, and he will score goals. And if we're going to get back to that vein of form, which is what we all want, in the purple patch we had under Ancelotti, the common denominator was, one, we were playing well, and two, the Calvert-Lewin was scoring. That's what we all want to get back to. We'll touch on it later, because I think there's a question. Well, there's not a question. I think it was a point Pricey was making in our group earlier. But I agree with Pricey. I think he's coming back from injury. He's come into a side lacking confidence, a side that's lacking identity, a side with that's lacking width and lacking players who can deliver a good ball into the box, thanks to Agent Rafa, who sold Luca Dean. So it's not a great set of circumstances for him to be trying to come back into, and like me and Pricey said before, he's probably not ready to be back. So I agree to a certain extent with what Kev's saying, but I don't think that, like Pricey said, that we can replace him that easily, and certainly not with the money that we're getting, coupled with the position that we're in.
It'd be interesting to know what Kev thinks that the magic,
the right money is.
The magic amount of money is that he would sell them for, because, as I said, 80 million is probably about, if Lukaku's going for 100, you'd say, probably about 75, 80, you'd probably, because he's English, get that for him. But who are you replacing him with? I don't know.
Well, if you've got the right men upstairs, you'll get 2 Luis Diaz's for that, mate.
We'll end up with Luis Piaz. We'll end up with Luis Piaz.
Okay, so Kev's mate Jay got a question for the Reds. What do you think of the Milner new contract offer, Reds? It's not for Jay. He thinks Milner's done very little this season. Even as cover, he's rapidly declined, and taking him into the 37th year just seems to be the wrong move for the club. So, I mean, before the Burnley game, Klopp come out and he was asked directly about the Milner situation, and he just said, it was up to me, I'd give him a new contract, but it's not up to me, it's up to the club. And then since then, some rumours have emerged that we have offered him another 1-year deal. So is it a bad look? Is it a bad sign? I think the people who are against it, Gary, are saying, like, it's not the right message, not the right sort of image for the club.
See, I think for me, it depends on what's involved. Is he going to be expecting to get 15, 20 games a season? I highly doubt that. When he's used now, he's very rarely used to come on and try and change a game. He's not there to come on and win us points if the goal gets tough, if we're 1-0 down, whatever. He's not really used for that type of substitution now. I think for me, having a James Milner in and around the club, especially for the youngsters, is is absolutely brilliant. You know, I think you can't really replace that. How do you replace it? The standards he sets, how he lives his life, his lifestyle around football, how he's, how he trains, he's a model professional, isn't he? And I think if you've got that sort of player for the youngsters to look up to and the rest of the team to look up to and respect, I like having him around the club. As long as he knows and he accepts that he's going to be brought on sporadically. It's going to be like, he'll be brought on just to see games out as he was as he has been sort of this season for us. When he has been used, I can't really remember a time where it's like Milner's coming on and he's coming on to try and change the game to go and win it.
He started games. He started against Chelsea. I think he started another game in the Prem. The thing is, though, Gary, I'd have him in our first team ahead of a few in the midfield, Keita and Chamberlain being two. And while he's sort of still good enough to get minutes, as well as all the advantages that you've said he brings, I know Harvey Elliott really looks up to him. The young lads are bringing through in defensive centre mid, looks up to him a lot as well, I've read. And why wouldn't you? So I'm with you, another year contract. And I think Klopp, the way sometimes a manager likes to filter his message through a player to the rest of the squad, I think that happens with Milner quite a lot. So
I think having him there... Go ahead, Judge.
Go on, today.
I think having him there to potentially become a coach at Liverpool as well, I'd love that to happen, because I just think he's that type of person where I think he's already half doing it now anyway. You hear stories coming out. He's always at the youngsters' games. He's always going to watch the under-21s and the under-19s, and he's always there.
He has to be in the dressing rooms, didn't he, last season when you had that? It was a Villa you was playing where there's all the kids inside, kind of just come along and be in the dressing room.
Yeah. And having that character around.
Yeah. I was going to say, one thing I would say is that if I've assessed Milner's character correctly, that's not for him, though. He will play until the day that someone tells him you can't play anymore. And I don't see him taking a 1-year contract, bit part role, coaching. I don't think that. I think Milner fancies himself as he's still a player, and he'll try and play for as long as he can.
So do you think he'll drop down the divisions then? Is that what you mean?
I think he'll look at what's out there. Personally, I think he'll look at what's out there for him.
Fair enough. Okay.
Well, what I'd say as well, just one other thing. What I'd say, you're saying there, Phil, about you'd play Milner ahead of the likes of Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain. I think that's probably what Jay's getting at in the question. Is he a good enough backup for the first starting 3 players?
No, probably not. But
I think that's the point, isn't it? If we're looking at Oxlade-Chamberlain and Keita not being good enough, if the next choice is Milner, he's probably looking at that thinking, if we keep a Milner and that's stopping us signing a replacement. If that's the issue, then, I think there might be a bit of a point there. Just playing devil's advocate.
Can you use his wage better, isn't it, basically?
Yeah. I think if that's the point, it could be a bit more valid for me, for my opinion as well. But I just think the value he brings as a player to have around the club, I think 1-year extension, as long as it's not he's going to be playing 20, 25 games a season, I think it's not a no-brainer for me.
It is another one, just to leave us on, and I can maybe leave this one with Jay as well. I'm saying that Jay's already sold on it. You've got to imagine that the Salah situation in terms of how much the club are going to be offering him or willing to offer him is going to be impacted by the total wage bill. If you can lose Oxlade-Chamberlain, Milner, and keep Salah, do you do that?
They need replacing, no, Judge. You can't just lose them.
Let's replace them 2 with 1, though.
Let's say you're not going to replace them, though, but you're getting rid of them and you're keeping Salah.
Would I do it?
Yeah.
In a heartbeat.
Right.
I don't know what you're even thinking about, Phil. You don't ever want to play Oxlade-Chamberlain, and you just said Milner's not good enough to start.
Do you want to replace the squad players and let Salah go then?
You think we could go into next season without Milner, Keita and Chamberlain and have a chance of winning anything?
He only said Milner and Chamberlain.
Oh, okay. Even them two, and you think we could survive with... Yeah, actually, we probably could, yeah. Go on.
Let's move on anyway. Jay, Kev, thanks for your questions and thanks for your support.
Okay, so Nick Morris messages us frequently, and he said, losing James, Digne and Sigurdsson, 28 goals and assists last season, and not replacing them is the reason we are now looking... What's that?
Agent Rafa.
And not replacing them is the reason we are now looking for the first time in decades at going into a relegation battle to end the season. It's criminal not to replace any of them, especially when two of them are attacking playmakers. Obviously, the Sigurdsson thing is what it is, but it's goals that have and assists that have come up the teams. Let's say no more than that. So, what are your thoughts on it?
I had a look at. We got this message earlier, and I had a look at. I mean, my initial thoughts were, we probably have tried to replace those attacking players, maybe with a lesser quality. We certainly have brought in, Damari Gray, Mykolenko, Townsend, promoted Gordon to try and replace those players. But for me, I think conceding's the bigger problem this year. And I had a little look at the numbers, and it seems that we're scoring pretty much the same amount of goals as on average as we scored the whole of last season, but we're conceding more. So that for me is the problem. Is how we're setting up, and even though Benitez set us up to be, a counter-attacking team and concede nothing and give nothing away, we were conceding more than we were last season, and last season we weren't scoring that many goals either. When we did win, it was a 1-0 win and stuff. So I get the point then of those assists coming out the team. But when you look at it as a whole, I disagree. I think it's the conceding goals that's the problem. I don't think we've had too much of an issue in terms of scoring goals, especially not compared to last season. Obviously, last season I think we had issues scoring goals as well, but I think this season I don't think it's been the issue. I think conceding's been the one for me.
I do agree with you from a statistical perspective, and certainly just looking at the away games, the last few away games, if you keep clean sheets at Southampton and Newcastle, you've got 4 points out of them two as opposed to 0. So I can't disagree with you there. I suppose just playing devil's advocate a little bit, and I'm not saying I necessarily agree with this point, but it's worth considering. You said it before, Pricey, that when you're not scoring, frequently, or you're not scoring, first, which is probably the main point here, your defence is under pressure, aren't they, consistently. I suppose the other point as well is we're talking about Calvert-Lewin and not getting in that service. Despite the fact that maybe, statistically we've scored as many goals, Calvert-Lewin is struggling to get opportunities. Fitness aside, he's not getting decent deliveries into the boxes. He hammers Sigurdsson, Dean. That's the thing they all has in common, is they all has a good delivery in them, whether it be from set plays or from open play as well.
Yeah, I agree. But he hardly played, has he, Calvert-Lewin this season? So we haven't had a fully fit Calvert-Lewin this season. I think he scored 2 in the first 2 games or something like that when he was fit. So yeah, I get the point that you're making. And crossing wise, isn't it? That's the issue. I know we're not in as many crosses in we were at the start of the season. I think when Townsend and Gray were our wide players, but we haven't really been set up that way towards the end of Benitez, and certainly Lampard's not going to really, hasn't set us up that way so far. But so yeah, it is pressure on the defence, but I think the defence is the issue. When I don't want to pick on players. When our defence is John Joe Kenny, Holgate, Keane, and an agent Coleman, and that's your back 4, you're going to struggle. You're going to, that's not a defence that's mid-table Premier League team. Never mind.
I think that's a really good point. Is you look at the players we've turned players over in the attacking area. We've tried to replace players, haven't we? Yeah. We've made no effort by the looks of it, really, to address and improve the depth and the quality of the defenders. The only player that's come in, 2 players have come in, Mykolenko and Patterson, and for different reasons. They're both players for the future, aren't they? Mykolenko's clearly not ready for the Premier. He's come from a poor league. He's played at international level, played in the Champions League, looks a decent player by all accounts, potentially, but he's not ready. Same with Patterson. He looks a prospect, but he's not ready. And that's I think you're right there. You can't deny that we haven't really tried to address that at the back. But again, good question. We'll have to speed it as here, Phil. What's your last Liverpool one?
Yeah, probably just go through one last question then. Yeah. So Darren O'Day, this week's question to both Blues and Reds: with the atmosphere being boss this weekend at Goodison, just wondering what your best game you've been to with the best atmosphere. Nice one, the Blues.
That was last week.
Yeah, he sent it after the Leeds game, didn't he?
Oh, we already answered that one?
No, we
missed the podcast
last week, did we?
Oh, yeah.
You never miss a question from Darren, no. That's the rule.
I'll start first.
Right, you will.
Chelsea in the semi-final. I wasn't there for Barca, unfortunately, which I'm sure will be Gary's answer.
Yeah.
So Chelsea, the goal that did or didn't cross the line from Louis Garcia, one of the best nights of my life.
Yeah, I was at both of them, and for me, the Barcelona atmosphere was just on another level. It's just what the game was, what it meant, how we got back into it, just everything about it was just probably my favourite ever game, barring cup finals. That was probably my favourite ever game.
For Everton, I'd go for a loss, unfortunately, but I always go back to the Fiorentina game when Arteta. Were you going to say that as well, was you? When Arteta scored, and then the whole atmosphere, and we got beat on pens in the end, but we were playing really good that game, and the atmosphere was like actually rocking. You know, the old wooden stands were proper bouncing. It was class. So yeah, we got beat, but that's the game that sticks out as being like top atmosphere for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I just maybe try. Yeah, I can't look past that. It was ridiculous. Like you could see the fear in the Fiorentina players. They literally didn't know what hit them. We completely, overran them. I'm trying to think of another one that matches that. I'm really struggling.
The Man United game was good when Ferguson scored, and I remember that. That was like a Saturday afternoon. But the night games are good. Doesn't just seem to have a bit of more special atmosphere than the afternoon games.
Some of the best atmospheres I've been to, half an hour before kickoff, it's bouncing before kickoff. Was the Fiorentina game like that?
Yeah, but it was. Yeah, it ignited in the game, though, didn't it?
Yeah.
Like there was Arteta scored, and it just completely. Like the belief came back, didn't it? Or it was.
That's what it was. We went into the game hoping that we were going to like turn them over, but not really.
2-0 down from the first leg, so it was like obviously you're up for it and stuff, and everyone is. But then you're thinking realistically, I think at the time they were like second or third in Serie A.
It makes sense.
Qualified for the Champions League and dropped back into the Europa League, and they were a good side in that first leg. They just looked well better than us. But then, when we got a goal in front, and it was like literally they looked terrified. Their players were winning every ball. They were scrambling stuff off the line. They were kicking everything out. They just wanted to get out of there. And they did. They dragged us to penalties in the end. They literally hung on in there for penalties like Italians do and broke our hearts. But yeah, the atmosphere that night was amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, that's the end of the social media then. We had a lot more questions, but we'll save some of them for next week.
As you did with that one.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to try and whiz through some of these previews. Then we'll start briefly with the Leeds one, because I know you've got a bigger game at the weekend coming up. So Leeds on Wednesday night. Again, a team that love to score, love to concede. Is it a potential banana skin, or is it one you're looking forward to?
Well, for me, I think my main worry is Leeds. He's got it's quite a small squad. They're really, really fit, and they can give good teams a game. They can work you hard, and that's my main worry, Gary, going into the cup final. Is that Leeds can work you hard, can't they? I'm not worried about losing, but I'm worried about coming out of it tired.
Yeah, I think Judge saying there's a potential banana skin. I think every game in the Premier League now is a potential banana skin. Now everyone's got the ability to cause problems for every team. You've seen it for Liverpool, you've seen it for Man City through the seasons. They can be caused problems. Do I expect it? Probably not. I do think we're Liverpool are better when we play weekend midweek. We're going on a bit of a run now of doing that, and I think you'll see the quality coming through. Yeah, they can work it hard. We've had it with them in the past. It was an opening day of the season last season, I think it was. We ended up going to the last minute. I think it was a last minute penalty, got us a win against them 3-2 or 4-3 or something. Yeah. We do. They can work it hard, as you say, but I just think we're in a bit of a decent patch now. We've won a few games on the trot. We've got more or less a full squad back together. Going into a cup final on the weekend, the players will sort of be on a bit of a high with that. I just think, especially with City dropping points as well, it makes the tie a little bit bigger again.
I think Leeds have got a few injuries, haven't they? Calvert-Lewin, Bamford. I think there's a few others as well. They've got Rafinha back, but I think they're struggling.
Yeah, I do think we're going to have too much for them. I'm just hoping, as you say, it's not too tiring for our players. I hope we can get the job done pretty early and then rest players. I don't want to see us resting players like we did against Norwich. The fact that City have just dropped points again, not even dropping points, losing the game, I think that's a big thing for us now. We need to go and make a statement there. Go and score a few goals, get the goal difference a bit higher because we're similar goal difference to City. I think they're +2 better than us. Go and make a bit of a statement with our game in hand and get the job done early.
I always think that, like, when you maybe looking at as of a big game, but obviously you still need to get points. Get your players out, get the game won, and take them off with half an hour to go. See, momentum's massive, isn't it? Going into a cup final, you want to go in off the back of a win, closing the gap at the top. So yeah, I'm always a fan of
definitely
that.
And I think if we emphasise how big a game it is to our players, not that they'll need it, but if we do get into them to sort of start really quickly and sort of overwhelm them and just absolutely annihilate them from early on, I think we could do that. Do you know what I mean? I think if we go at it at 100 mile an hour from the off, I think we could have the game won in half an hour or so. And that'd be perfect. If you could get to half time and you're a couple of goals, obviously this is in a perfect world. It probably ends up being 1-0 down at half time now after me saying this. But if you could get in at half time, you're a couple of goals up, you could even make a change then. Not wholesale, but bring one of the players off who is definitely a starter on Sunday.
Putting this alongside the game this game on Sunday then as well, so you might as well kind of preview both, because the lineups to a certain extent, but maybe not in your book, Gary, are going to impact on the other one. Do you expect it to be the strongest side you can field against Leeds and then doing the same at the weekends with the view taking players off, or do you think you'll be clever and maybe just rotate slightly?
Well, I think in the forward line, I don't think we can now, because Jota and Firmino are both injured, aren't they? So I think you're looking there at Salah, Mane and Diaz for both games. Defensively, I think Konate's in a bit of a good patch at the minute. He's played a few decent games when he has come in. Van Dijk is usually an ever present. I think it's only really Tsimikas and Robertson who might get rotated. I think Trent will play both. Matip or Konate, between them two for the 2 games, which is I think if I had to pick, if they were going to play one each, I'd probably throw Matip in for the final, Konate in for Leeds. Yeah. And then the midfield, I don't really want to see Keita or Oxlade-Chamberlain for either of them. I think Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago's the midfield. You could play Harvey Elliott. I wouldn't mind seeing Harvey Elliott in the Leeds game. But I think for me, for the final, I think we know Kelleher's playing in goal for the final. He's already been promised that, I think. But other than that, for me, it's got to be strongest 10.
The midfield is so sort of fragile. It scares you to play.
Say, based on the injury record, you certainly with Thiago, you'd probably wrap him in cotton wool against Leeds, wouldn't you? And roll him out for Chelsea.
Roll him out.
Yeah.
You could do though. You could have Henderson, Fabinho, and Elliott for the Leeds game, which I'd quite like to see anyway. So I wouldn't mind. Thiago sort of taking a rest for the Leeds game.
Just looking at Chelsea's fixtures here. They played Tottenham on the 23rd of January, but since then they've played Plymouth Argyle, Al Hilal, Palmeiras, and Palace.
Yeah, that's they've had the travelling to the Club World Cup though, haven't they?
Yeah, true.
Okay, so predictions then, both them games. Starting with Leeds.
I'll go 3-0 Liverpool.
Yeah, I'll match that. That's what I was thinking, 3-0. And then the final.
5-1, what am I messing? 2-1 Liverpool, the final.
I'm going to say 1-0.
1-0. And just to give you an opportunity, lads, have you got a ticket yet? Do you need to put an appeal out to our loyal listeners and followers?
I'd love one of our listeners to get in touch and get me a ticket. Like I said a few weeks ago, I couldn't get it off work, so I weren't going down there. But I've managed to pull in a couple of favours that I'm probably going to regret in the future when they ask me to do a Saturday afternoon for them. But I'm going down there. So anyone, if there is any spares, I know there's a million asking, but if there is any, I'll be more than happy to take one off your hands.
Do you know, in our whole life, Terry has never ever not got a final ticket in the ballot.
He's horrible.
Like, he's the luckiest person when it comes to tickets I've ever met. Horrible he is, yeah.
I'm not going to say what he's done if he hasn't got a ticket.
Yeah, better not.
If the authorities are watching or listening. Okay. Nice one, lads. Pricey, just briefly then. Say briefly because I'm not sure how much we can say on it. Man City 5:30. I know the Reds will certainly have more than half an eye on it for the first 2 minutes, and then we'll be down. Yeah, obviously it's a bit of a free hit as far as I'm concerned. You know, Goodison obviously will be rocking because everyone will be on the ale all day. And again, I think it's an opportunity for the players obviously to go and, you know, and earn some more trust back from the fans. And again, just
it's a win-win for you as well, isn't it?
It's a win-win for you as well, I think. But well, what do you think then, Price? I think start first of all, changes. What changes would you make? I'm not going to say would you make changes because I'm fairly certain you would.
What changes would I make?
Yeah.
I haven't even thought about this. I mean, is Godfrey back? I'm sorry, mate. I don't even know who's back from injury. But
Can Lampard play?
I don't. Yeah. Ashley Cole
fit.
No, I don't think Godfrey's back. I think we're stuck.
I was going to say, I would have put Godfrey left back if that's the case. I mean, you're struggling, aren't you, with your back four because you've got no other left back apart from Michalenko, and you bring him in. Probably would if it's either him or Coleman as an alternative. I'd bring Michalenko in. You'd have to have the same back four, but with him in.
So would you play Coleman right back? And
I'd play Coleman right back, Michalenko left back, and then Holgate and Keane, only because there's no alternatives to your centre halves. If obviously I know Mean is injured, so if Godfrey can't come in as a left back, then there's no alternatives, is there?
No.
What do you think?
With Branthwaite, which I don't think is.
He didn't look ready, did he, when he came on against Newcastle? No, he had a good game against Leeds, but Leeds against Chelsea, but he didn't look like he was.
No.
Against Man City, I think it's a bit slight to put him in there. To be honest with you,
it is. Yeah,
couldn't knock his confidence and doing more harm than good in midfield. I'd probably Alan Van de Beek, and would you give Ali a go in midfield? I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. And then I don't know. It's tough, isn't it?
It is tough. I wouldn't personally start Ali against Man City. You're going to have a lot of kind of being without the ball, aren't you? And I'm not sure Ali is that player who kind of will be disciplined, but also is going to chase and press and harry. I mean, unless there's a different player that I haven't seen. I'd be tempted to play the three, as in Alan, Gomez and Van de Beek, and just try and get bodies in the midfield, which I think will be really important. I'd play Richarlison out wide, and I'd probably put Gordon on the other side. And obviously, again, you're talking about trying to be as disciplined as we can. Both them players on both sides have got the pace and skill to go and hit players 1v1 if we are breaking. But I think we've got to have three players in the middle of the park.
Yeah, I agree. We need three. It's just I don't think you can trust Gomez. I know he's had the odd game, but there's no one else to come in. There's no one else to bring in. That's the issue you've got.
It's not that I think that Gomez is great or whatever. I just think he's out the players we've got. He's one of the only natural centre midfielders. I can see an argument for putting Ali behind Calvert-Lewin, but then I'm like, it probably means then that you're having to play maybe a more defensive wide player then, if that makes sense. Like probably a Townsend or something, just to, we can tuck in a bit more. Maybe I'm being too conservative about this. I know we can't. What we have got in our favour, and not that I've looked at this too much because I don't want the Reds to think it's going this way, but our goal difference is not too bad compared to some of the teams at the bottom of the league. We can't afford to be getting beat like 4 or 5-0. Do you know what I mean?
The issue we've got, I mean, Spurs on Saturday, what they've done is they just got men behind the ball and then they broke quick on the counter-attack, but they had quality going forward. Man City scored 2 goals, but they were able to hold them off for long periods of the game, and then they had the quality going forward. But with Everton, the tendency for us when we've tried to that is just get deeper and deeper and deeper, and then when we have got the ball, we haven't got the quality to go forward, and we haven't been confident and brave enough on the ball, so it becomes like a training game. So when you're saying go conservative, I think you do have to. You have to get men behind the ball, and you have to, close the space down and stuff. It's just have we got the players to transition as well as we should be? So I don't think we have. I mean, what we've got on our sides there, you said before, it's R5 at Goodison. The atmosphere hopefully will be, well, I think it will be rocking, and try and get in the faces and just try and intimidate them a little bit. I think that's the only thing. That's what we've got going forward. And prediction-wise, I'll probably go 1-1. I mean, very hopeful best we'll go 1-1 because I don't want to predict anything too negative. I'll go 1-1.
Yeah. Like what else? What else can you predict? Now that we're not in the prediction league.
I was just waiting for your prediction because I was going to say I know if the prediction league was going, Judge, you would predict a Man City win.
I'd be predicting a 3-1 Man City if we were in prediction league, but we're not. So yeah, I can't see it. I can't see any, but I think 1-1 at best for me as well. You know what? I'm going to go 2-2. I think City. I can't see us not conceding 2 against City at the least. But I'm just hoping that we've got something up our sleeves. I mean, it'd be an amazing result for Liverpool at a draw because like we don't win and City drop more points. It couldn't get any better for them. But yeah,
out of interest, who would you prefer to win if that to be a winner?
Everton.
Oh, Everton, easy.
Of course they would, yeah. Of course they would. Okay, well, yeah, I'm not.
If we were 6 points ahead of City, I might be saying something different, but
yeah, it'd have to be 12. It'd have to be 12 for me.
If I was in your shoes, I'd have my skin tight Mo Salah top on. Okay, well, yeah, I'd say best of luck this weekend, but I absolutely don't mean that. I hope he's get a ticket, and I hope it's a miserable weekend for you. Capped off by us beating Man City. What a weekend that'd be. Okay, well, thanks everyone capped off. That might be a consolation for you, but anyway. Thanks everyone for listening. Apologies for last week. We've made up for it with an extra long episode this week. For the Reds, you can maybe listen to it on your way down to Wembley. For the Blues, you've got till 5:30 on Saturday, so you've got a bit more time to listen to this as well. Thanks everyone for your support. Don't forget to subscribe if you don't already. We have got some prizes coming up this month for all our subscribers. Not for all of you to win, the chance for you to win it, but we'll announce them on our social medias. If you don't follow us already, it's at Across the Park PC on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks everyone. Catch you on Thursday for Game On.